Hey everybody, this is TUSDarryl and welcome to my Bright Memory Infinite review. This time, no updates, none of that. It's been in every single video so far and I don't want to keep padding videos in the front with updates. So let's just get the ball rolling with a brief synopsis of Bright Memory Infinite's plot. In Bright Memory Infinite, you play as Shelia. I forget how to say it, but she's a member of the SRO who sets out to save the world from the primordial flood. English is hard. So I played the little teaser of Bright Memory, the original, I guess you can call it the original Bright Memory, a while back and was impressed with it enough to warrant playing this game, which is kind of a sequel. Technically a sequel, not really a sequel. I don't remember how it was described. It was like you had the teaser, which was essentially a vertical slice of what this game builds on top of. Visually speaking, the game looks decent. It doesn't look like really bad or anything like that. I won't even say that it looks cheap. It looks like what it initially was, a game created by one person who I believe now has a full team, and that's where the tail end of this game's development ended up. So for what the game is, the game actually looks really good. The animations can look a little weird, a little wonky sometimes, and Shelia herself can look a little plasticky, but it is a major step up from the first or original Bright Memory. What I can say visually that is especially impressive about the game is that despite its occasionally look at times, it definitely has a style going for it. It has a lot of style and a lot of personality. Some of that can be seen in the gameplay as well, but we'll get to that later. So overall, as a package, Bright Memory Infinite, visually speaking, the review's not over yet, don't worry. Bright Memory Infinite can be summed up as, hey, that's pretty good. Sound-wise, the game is your standard affair for a shooter.
We've arrived in the target airspace. The sky is full of thick clouds, and we've got strong winds and lightning.
Everything is fine for the moment. No issues. Begin preparations for descent. Shelia, this is Wake. I'm headed to your coordinates now. What's the situation?
There's not much more I could say about that really stands out or really stands out as bad. It's your average sound. Musically though, the game actually has some decent scores in there. But now with that little interlude about sound out of the way, let's talk about gameplay. The real meat and potatoes here. I'm sorry you had to hear that. Aside from the jank that is normally associated with indie games of this caliber, the game still plays like a non-stop action flick. And that extends from the very pretty visuals that you would get during combat to the actually really awesome flow of combat. Combat is satisfying with a nice blend of shooting and slicing and dicing. That said, I think Shelia is pretty overpowered, even on violent difficulty, which is the normal difficulty, which, you know, you probably assume that's where you probably want to be overpowered compared to the harder ones. But it doesn't help that the AI isn't the smartest. Oftentimes, enemies in this game only really overwhelm you with numbers. Their damage in general, mostly negligible, but if there's enough people shooting at you, it's always going to hurt. But in this game's defense, it's meant to make you feel like a badass. It's a power fantasy. So I can overlook a little bit of jank for the sake of the rule of awesome. The downside to all of this, Bright Memory Infinite is not a long game, like at all. In fact, this very review is going to be pretty short because there's not a lot to really talk about with the game because there's not a lot there. And I'm sure you would think to yourself, but Daryl, isn't this when you normally mash it up with a batch review or something like that? Yes, that's normally what I would do. But then some things had to change with the batch review because now the DuoQ is back in the picture. Some games had to get swapped around and stuff, and I just figured, you know what? I could take the games I've completed so far for the batch review and just make them their own separate reviews and see what happens. Why not? I don't mind making a shorter review if that's what it comes down to. But anyway, I digress. You can finish Bright Memory Infinite in a little under an hour, which might turn off some of you. There are unlockable skins and extra difficulties, though, if you want to challenge yourself with some replayability and whatnot. And with how fun the combat is, I could see someone going through this game at least another 1 or 2 more times. And before you ask, yes, some of those skins are kind of... You know what? No, I'm not gonna get into that, and I'm totally not gonna buy those skins. I'm not that down bad shit. But even for its short length, Bright Memory Infinite is an awesome example of an FPS game that can quickly scratch that shooter itch you may have from time to time. It doesn't need to be overly long, and it's not so short that it feels completely forgettable. It's like a little snack, a little FPS snack, which definitely scratched my itch for the time. And there was enough going on in fights and enough in like set pieces and ways to traverse environments, transitions between levels, and boss fights that honestly I didn't get bored once. And it's really hard to get bored when the game is, again, about an hour to 2 hours max. As for bugs, I've only encountered hit detection issues with some grunts whenever I try shooting them. Like when I'm shooting them up close with a sniper rifle, don't ask why I'm doing that. It's just because I can. And mind you, I'm not aiming down sights when I'm doing it. If I aim down sights, then yeah, I'll get the hit. But if I'm hip firing, essentially, with the sniper rifle, then no, it's not really going to hit. Now, aside from all that, to put it all together, Bright Memory Infinite, for me, personally, is a go for it. It's just $20. But, of course, if the length of the game is what bothers you, like you don't want to spend $20 on a 2-hour game, or a game that you're only really going to play once, then that's fair. And whenever this kind of stuff comes up, game length versus price, I like to reference my review to the Resident Evil 3 remake, where that game was $60, and the game was pretty short. Now, granted, the original Resident Evil 3 was also short, but the difference is, Resident Evil 3 Remake was full price, and there was some stuff that didn't make it into that game that wasn't in the original. This game is only 2 hours long on average if you're just playing through it once, or it could be longer depending on how many times you want to replay the game just for the sake of replaying the game. But it's also only $20. You're going to spend that for one meal somewhere else. So ultimately, it's a fun time for not a lot of money. So that's why I can give it a go for it. Bright Memory Infinite is available on PC, PS5, Nintendo Switch, Android, iOS, I don't know why, Android, whatever, and Xbox Series X and S. And with that, I hope you guys have enjoyed your stay. I'm TUSDarryl. The next review is going to be Lost Ruins, which is definitely going to be a more average length review, because I have a decent amount of things to say about that game. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.